video is brought to you by Letsynthesize Academy, the #1 place for practice-oriented courses for serious music producers.
Hey, Larsen here, welcome to the newest Synthesize Sunday episode. So I tweaked Vital a little again and made this little groove for you. You can download this whole project from my Patreon below, and I also added a few Vital presets there, so you can reach them. Everything in the description, but right now, let's jump into it. Okay, so this is the sound that I'm talking about. It's so cool. And actually the most important thing here, I would say, is the filtering. Now what I love in Vital is how you can set up and how you can route and create chains using the filters. So it's very, very cool. But first let's check the wavetables. So the granular upgrade and the flinge scroll is coming from this Glorg library that comes with the free version of Vital. So it is very, very cool. And I'm using 9 voices of unison on 5 or 4% of the tuning. That is very important because if I pull it back, it's just too, I would say it's just too weak. And with 9 voices of unison, it's a lot fatter, but if you go too high with the tuning, it's just going into noise. So around 5 voices, it's really, really cool. And as you can see, I set up a very nice chain here. So oscillator 2 is actually a modulator to oscillator 1, and it is actually FM from oscillator 2. So we are using FM from B, but it is not B, it's oscillator 2. And oscillator 2 receives modulation to ring modulation. So as you can see, I set it to RM oscillator 3. Now, oscillator 2 is only a modulator. I didn't let it go out from the synth, but oscillator 3 is working or acting as a sub. So it is a sub oscillator, and I really love the way I can shape it. So the sub oscillator can be transformed a little. So what I don't really like in Serum is you must use some sort of clean sine wave. Even it has a distorted sine wave, it's just not that hard. It's not very usable, I guess. I mean, for me. So this is why I cranked this thing to Foreman scale. And with this I was able to, you know, add huge amounts of, well, this is not distortion, but additional harmonics. That is very nice to create hard subs. So I love it. Now let's go to the filters. So what I love in Vital is you can tell the oscillator where to route it. So which filter to. So this is why I clicked to filter 1. So because oscillator 1 is the main oscillator, the main sound source, I routed it to filter 1, as you can see. Now oscillator 2, it doesn't really matter because it is muted, so you can click direct out or effects, it doesn't really matter. And oscillator 3 is actually a direct out, as you can see, because it is the sub. So what I love here is I let oscillator 1 go to filter 1, so it is going into filter 1, it is in notch blend mode. It's very, very cool. And what I wanted to do is filter it again using filter 2. So how to do that? And if you see this place here, you can tell filter 2 where to take the input signal from. And if you click on filter 1, it will mean that filter 2 will have the input signal from filter 1. So with that, basically, we are creating a serial chain. So oscillator 1 goes into filter 1, then the filtered signal goes into filter 2, and then to the FX. So it is very, very cool. And to prove that I'm telling you the truth, try to click on filter 2, and as you can see, filter 1 is deactivating, so you cannot set up an endless loop. That would be pointless. But let's go back to filter 1. So what you can do is, for example, let's take oscillator 2, route it to direct it to filter 2, and oscillator 2, as you can see here, is activated. So it's, I love this thing. I love how flexible it is. Now let's talk about the envelopes and the LFOs a little. I added these sidechainy kind of things to the main envelope, because if I don't do that, I have this huge boom, like kick. I wanted to cut it a little because first it sounded great, and envelope 2 is acting as a pitch modulator or a pitch envelope. That was cool, but when I go into arranging the basses, it just sounded, well, a little, it doesn't sound it well. So this is why I added this sidechain, this attack thing here. Now LFO 1 controls a few stuff here. So for example, oscillator 1 waveframe, which is the wavetable position, and the filter cutoff, this thing here. and a filter 2 cutoff, this thing here. Now I have another LFO with different shape, and I'm controlling the oscillator 1 frequency morph, so this warping mode basically, and the distortion filter cutoff in the FX, and oscillator 3 level, which is the sub, as you can see. So this is all here, and it is very cool if you use 2 different LFOs with 2 different shapes, because with this you can create a very nice modulated rich in movement sound. So let's go to the FX now. I have a distortion. And interestingly, with the distortion, the whole sound turns a lot cleaner, and that is because of the filter type. Then notity and some EQing, and this is all, but one more thing, let's talk about the Legato Glide. So it is very cool to add some glide to the sound when you play around with the notes. So with that you need to click on Legato, and this glide thing turned up to about 0.2.5 sort of thing seconds. Okay, so this was the sound, and all together they form a very, very nice groove. And all the sounds are coming from Vital, except this little thing here. That is like, I don't know, a percussion sound, but it fills up the holes in this group so well. And a sub, that is a sample again, but it doesn't really matter, just use a distorted sine wave. And the drums, now in the drums, I used kick 2 for the kick, so if you don't have it, I'm going to freeze it for you. 3 layers for the snare and 1 for the percussion. Some other samples and a top loop. I so love this. Okay, so if you want, you can download this whole project from my Patreon, and I also uploaded a few Vital presets there. You can download them there too. And if you want to dig deeper into production, check my academy. So this is for today. I was Larson. See you guys next time. Peace.